So this sort of isn't the video I usually do, but something has happened, and I wanted to take the opportunity to sort of take control of the thing that is happening around me online at the moment. So basically, online, you probably know me from two places. The first one is this YouTube channel, which I've been running for about 5 years, just kind of putting up whatever I found interesting at the time, bit of animation, bit of gaming stuff, the odd review, and most recently, writing stuff, which I think has been some of the most successful stuff on the channel so far. Not the most successful video, which I've sort of come to resent, but somewhat successful. I think this sort of like sporadic upload nature with no real like main topic, while terrible for YouTube, reflects who I am as a person. I'd like to think that I'm not really an artist or writer or game developer or whatever. I'm just a creative person, and I like taking up creative projects in my spare time. I think that's sort of also why I haven't really been doing anything on YouTube for the last year or two, basically, because I want to do animations, I want to make like a novel, I want to like act in plays and stuff, and I want to make a video game. I don't really want to be tending to a failing YouTube channel that isn't really raking in many views at all. So I've been keeping myself busy with other projects. Just some examples that did happen, but I can't really talk about because it'll dox me. Is I got published. I wrote a piece of short fiction that got published. I can't share it because it'll dox where I live, but it did get published. I am a published author now. The writing advice paid off, guys. The second thing I did, which will also dox me, is I acted in a local play, and I have even had people come up on the street and be like, I know you from that play, you were really good, which is really surreal. Now, this is all small local stuff, but it's, official. There are actual celebrities involved with some of these things that I've been doing, and it's led to tangible, like noticeable changes in my day to day life. And it's just, I'm not really getting that out of YouTube, so I stopped focusing on YouTube and I started focusing on other things that, could lead to better results more quickly. And one of these things was an attempt at an indie game. And I think attempt is the most important word in that sentence. This was just something I was doing in my spare time, purely out of intrinsic motivation, with no actual, like, real world knowledge or qualifications aside from what I could just get off of YouTube. I've tried to make indie games before, none of them have been very successful. I've dabbled with C++ and SDL2 and OpenGL and SFML and all them, and, like, if I can get a window to open, that's about the best I can do. Even on my own. Like, I can barely get by without any tutorials. So, I don't think I'll be making the next game of the year, is all I'm saying. But regardless, I downloaded Godot. It's not my first time using Godot, but I tried it out. I found some really good tutorials. The YouTube channel that I relied on the most is called Bitlytic. They had some very good tutorials on state machines, classes in Godot, composition, all this sort of stuff. And I got to work making a game that, in no uncertain terms, was just Noita and Enter the Gungeon smashed together. It was a top-down, shoot-'em-up, bullet hell roguelike, where in Enter the Gungeon you can collect different guns that all have different effects and like, quirks. In this game, I wanted you to have a basic projectile spell, and throughout the game you could unlock, like, spell components to change the way the spell works. So maybe you could home in on an enemy. Maybe you could be, like, rapid fire. Maybe you could pierce enemies. Maybe you could do like a triple like shotgun spread type thing, and I thought, it's not the most original idea in the world, but I haven't played a game like that personally, and I thought it was a good enough idea. I thought it would be easy enough for someone like me to make, and I was working away on it, and sure enough, it was actually the best attempt at an indie game I've ever had. It was all coming along pretty well. This went on for about a month until I got bored. This happens a lot with most of my creative projects. If it's not like a drawing or painting that can be done in an afternoon, there's a high likelihood that I'm not going to finish it, no matter how long I'm working on it. So I worked on it for about a month. I got busy. I quit for like basically the entirety of November. Then the Game Awards were coming around again, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should do some more work on my video game. During the first stint of development, for about maybe 2 weeks or so, it was really basic stuff. Some sprites for like the player character and projectiles and stuff, basic 8D movement, and shooting projectiles. And I was really impressed by what I was able to do using the resources I had online, the resources offered by Godot, and stuff like, forums and Reddit. And I made a little character who can move around and aim a crosshair and then shoot a projectile, and that will travel towards the crosshair. This is like way more advanced than anything I've ever done before, and I was really impressed, but I just lost motivation. The second stint of development, which I'm technically still in now, happened around the Game Awards, and it was about enemies. I followed the state machine and composition tutorials by Bitlytic, and I made a basic goblin enemy who can wander around aimlessly, and when they see the player, they chase after the player, and if they hit the player, they hurt the player, if the player shoots them, they die, and that's basically where I got. The most recent thing I had been doing was I had sort of ran into a roadblock again with, issues with code and stuff. What I was doing was I had made an enemy who, the goblin was going to be your basic, like, melee enemy who runs at you, does maybe one heart of damage, and you kill them in one hit. I was going to make another enemy, another type of enemy, like there'd be more enemies than just the goblin and this other guy, who would idle, like wander around and chase the player like the goblin, but they would chase them at like a further range than the goblin, and they would shoot projectiles. And if you approach this enemy, they would try and run away, and if you ran away, they would follow you. And I got all that done except for the projectiles, and I stopped working for the night. It was at this moment that I looked at the Godot sort of like update news feed on Steam. Lots of games and software have this on Steam. Blender is another example. And they just tell you like updates and recent events and stuff that happens with the the thing on Steam. In Godot's case though, they had also included a little spotlight on a game that was made with Godot and is available on Steam. And I thought, I'll have a little look through, see what other people are doing with Godot, maybe get some ideas, maybe see what I'm up against. And when I was scrolling through, I found a game called Gunforged. So, stop me if you've heard this before, but Gunforged is a top-down roguelike shoot-'em-up bullet hell where you shoot enemies with a gun and you collect gun parts to make new guns that all operate differently from each other. I want to, say again, I did not know that Gunforged existed. I didn't know this was another game. I thought I had come up with this entirely, out of my own head. But it seems like someone else on a completely different part of the, planet had also come up with that out of their head and had gotten to it before me. And I felt like, this completely killed my motivation. This whole thing is no one's fault, but it still killed my motivation, because I thought that if I did release my own game, people would see it as a rip-off of this other game that I didn't even know existed. If anything, this could have been a slightly better scenario, because I could have made and released this game without ever knowing Gunforge existed at all, and it would have been a complete shock that I'd actually ripped someone off. So this completely killed any interest I had in working on the game, because I thought, that I had this future ahead of me where I would make the game, spend months working on it, racking my brain over it, and I'd release it, knowing in the back of my mind that I was ripping someone off, and then as soon as I released it, everyone would find out. They'd be like, you ripped off Gunforge, they'd come after me, they'd have me hung, drawn, and quartered. And so I went to Reddit, I went to the r/indie dev subreddit, and I just made a post explaining basically everything I've said just now, but in less detail. And I got a few comments saying oh, it's fine, you can look at it as a bit of market research, you can see what Gunforge did well and what didn't do well, and you can iterate on that. There's plenty of games that are the same as other games, it's no biggie. And, that kind of made me feel better, but I wasn't really satisfied, and I just, I stopped working on it for the day. So the next day, when I checked Reddit again, I saw that the actual developer of Gunforged, Firebelley, who actually has a pretty popular Godot tutorial YouTube channel, had actually found the post and commented on it, and basically he told me not to worry about it, and to, keep working on my own game, and even just to see what I like about Gunforged, and try and see what I don't like and work on all that kind of stuff. And it's just really cool. First and foremost, I want to say that was really a chill, cool thing to do. I'm really thankful. The other unintended side effect is that the game has the post has sort of skyrocketed to popularity now. It's gotten so out of my control that some other Reddit user and another indie developer actually has found the post, took a screenshot, uploaded it to their Blue Sky page, and that's gotten another 1,000 eyeballs on it as well. And this is really cool. It's also really surreal and scary. And I just wanted to make this video to sort of set things straight really quickly. I want to say that I, as a creative person, I want to make things first and foremost. I also want people to see the things I make, and I'm really thankful to have even the small moment of the small moment of the spotlight of people looking at a thing I did. I'm really grateful for that. But also, as I've said in this video, I'm an entirely self-motivated person pursuing this entirely out of my own interest in a field that I'm not really qualified or experienced in. And I wanted to say, for anyone who's interested in seeing this game come to fruition, that it could very well never come out, like on a cynical note, I see like the opportunity that I've been given here, but I also don't want to be one of those developers who, you know, pitches a game, gets loads of like attention, and then spends the rest of their career streaming on Twitch and like raking in Patreon money, being like, oh yeah, it'll come out when it comes out. You know, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. Don't even ask about it. I'll ban you if you ask. You know, that kind of stuff. So I want to make this video to sort of offer two things. The first one is, if you have seen the Reddit post or the Blue Sky post, I want to offer clarity and transparency. If there's an update on the game, it'll most likely be here in the form of a video or a community post. And if the game is cancelled or taking a long time, that'll also be here. You know, I didn't want to just like break out onto the scene like this and go into complete radio silence. I wanted to sort of, you know, hit while the iron was hot. Secondly, I want to offer like a consolation prize. If the game never comes out or takes a really long time to come out, I'm doing other stuff and it's all here. This is the number one spot for me content on the internet. So to summarize, I'm very grateful for, you know, specifically to Firebelley for, you know, putting eyes on me. And, you know, if you do want to keep your eyes on me, I would humbly ask that you subscribe to my YouTube channel and see whatever is going on. Thank you.